of May 3rd. If you could all gravitate to the seat, please. All right, let's call the meeting to order. And first order of business will be roll call. So let's start.
Kate O'Connor, School Board Secretary.
Brian Garland, School Board.
Jesse Tyler, School Board.
Wes Holden, Superintendent.
Paul Scarron, School Board.
Ed Anderson, School Board.
April Royce, School Board.
Sean Moynihan, Principal, Sunapee Middle High School.
Megan Reed, Assistant Principal, Sunapee Middle High School. Jody Bergen, Principal, Sunapee Central Elementary School. Karen Beard, Director of Student Affairs.
And if we could all pledge allegiance to the flag. Start off. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next, a moment of meditation and reflection. Today's the anniversary, the 14th anniversary of the Old Man of the Mountain falling. So, I want to bring that up. All right, thank you. Next on our agenda will be the approval of the school board meeting minutes for April 5th school board meeting, April 5th special meeting, parentheses, interviews, minutes for the CIP. And for those that don't know what CIP is, Capital Improvement Program.
Improvement projects.
Okay. Project. And also the school board policy committee minutes. So I'll entertain a motion.
Do you want those all together, or? I make a
preference, Brian.
Well, because I was at some of them, but not others, so it doesn't
Oh,
make
yeah,
any.
well, let's do it that way. You're right. It does make a difference.
Break it out.
So I make a motion that we approve the minutes of April 5th school board meeting and the special meeting for the interviews on April 5th as well.
Motion made by Brian. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by April. Any discussion? Changes, modifications? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Just one thing, I don't think it matters, but in the part where you interviewed me, it's got some misinformation. It doesn't, I don't believe it's relevant, but do you want a correction?
If you like to, if you want.
Yeah, it's just, it says dual masters in accounting and financial management. It should be business management. It's completely irrelevant, but inaccurate.
We need to modify the motion for that change.
I think so.
Okay. Motion's been made by Brian, seconded by April. We've had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And we have two more minutes of meetings. These are the minutes for CIP and school board policy. These are new on the agenda. We have not had minutes of prior meetings, but we are taking minutes of these meetings now.
We've been taking minutes, we're going to bring them forward just to bring forward that transparency. We posted them on our website.
Okay, thank you.
So I make a motion to, I might have jumped ahead of you. Can I make a motion to approve the CIP committee
And
minutes?
policy?
Yes. No, sorry, just the CIP.
Excuse me.
Misspoke.
And I'll
Okay.
second it.
Second by Brian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
Ed abstains. Motion carries. Next is minutes of the school board policy committee meeting, April 19th.
I make a motion to accept the school board policy committee meeting minutes.
Motion made by April. April have a second. I'll second April's motion. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
One abstention, two abstentions.
Great, great.
Any extensions from there?
Great.
Great.
Agenda review. this is the point of the meeting where we talk about the upcoming agenda. Russ, do you have anything that you need to add?
I do not.
Do we have anything we need to subtract?
I do not.
Right. Thank you. Next on our agenda is public forum. Public forum is, at the beginning of our meetings is agenda only. At the end, it's non-agenda as well as agenda. 3 minutes, 15 minutes for the public portion of it. And this might be a point in time, what do you think, Russ? Talk about public comments in a public forum.
You came through policy.
Excuse me?
You came through policy.
During our policy committee meeting, we came up with public comments in the public forum. Is this in the back?
No, I didn't do that because
Okay.
we already discussed it.
Okay. So, with that, I'm just going to read it to you. Sunapee School Board believes that complaints and grievances are best handled and resolved by parties directly involved. Therefore, proper channeling of complaints involving instruction, discipline, personnel issues, or learning materials will be as follows. If your issue is with a staff member or teacher, address it directly. Having no resolution from that, then you go to the building principal. Having questions from there, you go to the superintendent. And then, number 4, you can come to the school board. And in most cases, if not all cases, it'll be heard in non-public. Correct? For comments involving individual employees, personnel, or students, the school board will determine whether the matter was resolved through proper administrative channels, such as policies KL or KLD. Complaints will be investigated by the employee's immediate supervisor unless the superintendent chooses to investigate the complaint, designates another person to investigate it on his or her behalf. Any complaint presented to the board about school board personnel should be referred back through proper channels. The board will not hear complaints from individuals until such complaints have first been brought forth through the appropriate and applicable administrative procedures. So with that, I open up the microphone to the first public comment for folks that are interested in talking about agenda items.
Jan Betancourt, I just have a question about the policy BDE-R, and wondering if you will be actually reading it tonight. It's not up on the website, and so I'd like to hear what that has to say. And also wonder if you would consider putting some of these things that are on the agenda, actually make them accessible on the website for us to read. They're not available as paper copies, but if they were available on the website, I think it would be beneficial. And also, thank you for putting up the agenda back on the first page of the website. It was, if you got, thank you, Paul. It was very difficult. It was like a search to try to find out where the agenda was, and consistency is great. So I thank you for getting back to doing that.
Thank you.
Jody Manson, Yountville Road, Sunapee. Tell me if this is not the appropriate time to ask you a question. I wanted to ask you about the meet and greet that was tonight. Should I ask you now? Should I wait till the second public forum? It's not specifically on the agenda, but...
To stay within the scope of the policy, let's talk about that at the second portion.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more movement?
Sorry, you gotta.
Oh, yes.
What you read from, what policies?
It's not a policy.
Okay.
Seeing no further movement to the microphone, I'll close the public forum portion of this meeting for agenda-only items and move forward to the presentation. Senior projects, Sharon Parsons.
I'll get that for you, Sharon.
tour? Okay, thanks for having me. I just wanted to take a moment. I was asked by Russ to come in and just talk a little bit about Senior Project and some of the changes that have happened over the last 20 years. To take a look at the process and see how the kids are doing with it. So if you tell, 1996, I was told today, was the beginning of Senior Project. It's still going today. About 3 years ago, we decided to take a good look at it and make a few changes. Here, you see a picture of one of our students this year. She's up at King Arthur Flower, and what her project was to learn how to bake, and that's kind of the picture that she has there. But I'll go through the project and feel free to ask questions. We really looked at this point, it's time to take a look at making some changes to make the project work better for the 21st century and so forth. So in 2014, we formed a committee and had teachers on it, community members, administrators, alumni students came in, and we had current students also. We sent out a few surveys, and we met a number of times to really look at it in detail, see what worked, what didn't work, and use the information from the surveys that we sent out to different people to find out that. One of the biggest things that they talked about and came through with that was kind of an adjusted timeline. If you've had a senior, you know how busy a senior year is. I've had 4. It's very busy, and it should be because they're ready for that and so forth, but we were able to adjust that timeline a little bit to help them manage some of the deadlines that they had in other situations, so they worked around it, so they weren't all at the same time. It also allowed students to do more work in the summer. The previous Senior Project was the students were allowed to do their first 10 hours in summertime, and now, if they choose to, they can actually do the full project. And so we had a couple of students do that this year, and it really works well for some of those projects, like we have a scuba diving project this year. Some kids who managed and organized big races to raise money, and they did it all in the summertime. So they have that option if they want it. So I'm going to take you through what the project is like and the whole process for the students. It's really very detailed. I'm not going to go into all of that detail, so I'll just do an overview. And as I go, I'll tell you a little bit about some of those changes that we've made. Oops. All right. So when we're looking at this, we definitely looked at our learning expectations and our academic expectations that we have for our students through 12th grade, and certainly problem solving effectively, thinking critically, reading effectively, writing effectively, speaking well, demonstrating knowledge and skills, and those are really things that we want to make sure that we saw happening during that Senior Project process. So we made sure to put that in there. This is just so you know, that picture of the student. This was an amazing project this year. Some of you saw it that evening, that he completely took apart an old piano and redid every single part of it, and somehow figured out how to put all the pieces back together and make it work again. So it was really kind of a neat project. So some of the goals that we were looking at for Senior Project were to encourage students to be independent, organized, and lifelong learners. So this is a big part of that, to recognize that beyond the classroom, you can choose some things that you want to learn, and you can investigate and find out and take tours. There's so many resources out there. It doesn't end when you walk out these doors. It doesn't end at the end of college. It continues on. And to learn new knowledge and skills. That's a big part of this. That sometimes kids come and say, I want to learn how to play the guitar, and I say, well, have you ever played before? Oh yeah, I played a lot. So that's not new knowledge and skills. So we really work on where can you take it to the next level so that you're making gains. To enhance effective problem solving and critical thinking. I think they sometimes think if they run into problems, they've done something wrong and the project is not good. But actually, I look at it totally the opposite. You should be running into problems. And if you're not, then maybe I failed on that proposal part of it, because it should be a rigorous enough project that you're going to run into problems so that you can figure out how to solve them. And so that's a big part of that. And promote student interest, career choices, writing and speaking. It's one of those things, you know, in small school we have a lot of opportunities for kids to make some choices about different types of classes they want to take and so forth. But this is one time we sit down and say, hey, you've got 40 hours. What do you want to learn in those 40 hours? Totally individualized. You choose that. And some of them are like kind of blindsided by like, well, I don't know. But others have, now's my chance, that's a great idea, so it's good. Okay, and to promote persistence, which is really important, not giving up, keep trying even when, you know, you've got a lot of things going on, and sticking to it. Professionalism is a big thing that we work with on the kids, that it's almost like we give them opportunities to practice speaking, as far as like if you went to a job interview, or if you had to write a letter to get a job, those types of things we really try to help them work through with senior projects so they're more ready when they are. And certainly time management is a huge one. The 40 hours, if we had 40 hours this week, we probably get it all done this week. But if we have 40 hours over months, we tend to say, I'll do it the last month. And that doesn't always work. Okay, so one of the very first pieces, and it's a new piece that we added a few years ago, is the job shadow. And I am only involved in about 98% of that. Mr. Cooney does that whole thing for us. And he starts working with the juniors in January, so he's already done that this year. He meets with all of them, talks to them about, you know, what they're thinking about for the future, maybe what they're thinking about for senior project. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And then he tries to connect them with community members and businesses and so forth. And there's just some examples up there where some of the kids went this year, so that they can get out there. And he does set it to their responsibility. Like, he'll talk to the person, and he'll talk to the student, and then he'll give them the contact information, say, now you call them and set this up, which is a really important part of that professionalism. So that starts right away and is pretty much done for the juniors at this point. And we go into project proposal. And this is, in my eyes, it's one of the most important parts, because they need to really choose a project that they're interested in, but also that they can meet all the requirements with, and that they can challenge themselves and learn new things. So we work a lot with them on that. Some kids, I have kids in middle school that say, I already know what I'm going to do for senior project, great. And they change, that's fine. But then we have some kids come in with a blank stare and just have no idea. So we do a lot of brainstorming things with them to help them start thinking about what they want to do in the future. It's a great opportunity to say, hey, I want to be in the medical field, but I've never been in a hospital. Well, let's see if we can design a project that will help you get in there and get a feel for it and really see if you like it or not. So we do that type of thing with them. It says project proposals due in June or September, and the reason for that is because of the summer work. So if a student really wants to do summer work, they'll have their proposals completed and approved by us by the end of June before they leave school. So otherwise, September, so they can do that like summer work. Then we have the learning logs. And the learning logs is really nice now. It's all on Google Docs. So it's shared with them so we can see it, they can see it at the same time. And they create kind of a log of everything that they've done. So we have certain expectations. They need to have some kind of reflection, some problem solving in there. Need to include some photos, show us that new growth, and also talk about their next steps. So it helps keep them on track of what they're doing. And then we have checkpoint meetings. We used to say every 10 hours, we want to have a checkpoint meeting with you. We really try to get them to get the idea of this every quarter of the project. So because some projects are not 40 hours, some of them are 100 hours. And so we want to make sure that we're meeting with them when they're partway through that, so we can just make sure they're on track and make sure they're not, going down a path that doesn't go with their final outcome and so forth. At that time, we take a look at their proposal. We always go back to that, because in their proposal they have all the steps that they want to take. Like, I'm starting here, I want to get here, what are those steps? And help them feel, well, I'm only on step 1, and I've got 12 more to go, and help them plan that out. So that's some of that time management there. We also really pose questions to them, because we want them to be prepared for their evening, where their presentation is. So we try to give up some questions that they might get then. Sometimes that's really easy for us to do because we have some experience in the field. Sometimes it's not so much. And we have to do some research so that we can learn a little bit more about the topic ourselves before we ask those questions. We also use Google Calendar a lot, and for the students that's a little tricky at first, but once they get used to it, it's really good, because that's the other piece that's professional. We will send them a calendar appointment, and their job is to respond to us, accept that meeting, or let us know if they can't get it, can't be there, and why, and then we set up another meeting. But it's just their responsibility to take that professional step. And then we have a gallery. So some of you may have been to the presentation night. Before we actually have the evening, we have the last checkpoint meeting. We set up a gallery. It's kind of like a practice gallery in the Commons. And the whole student body and the teachers are able to come and visit it. We set a certain time for the juniors to come because we really want them to be able to talk to the seniors about, hey, what was tough, what worked, what are your suggestions, and start them thinking about what they want to do. It's also an opportunity for us to go around and, take a look at what they've done, give them suggestions, if there's a misspelling on their poster or something doesn't show up as well or they're missing some props, we can talk to them about it then before the actual night comes. And they get some practice in talking with an audience as they come through. So. Yeah. And then we have, this year we had over 50 community judges, which is really exciting. And that's one of the bigger changes that we had. It used to always be that the judges were junior parents, which is a great idea, and we still try to do that a little bit too, so that the junior parents can get a feel for what the project is. But we really wanted to try to find people who had some kind of experience in the topic that the student was presenting. So we spent a lot of time throughout the year, and we really have a good list of great people now that we go back to, that all different topics that they have experience in, whether it's just a hobby or it's their job, and they come in and can add some expertise to the conversation, so that's great. The students are then required to create a cover letter. It's just a one-page letter that introduces themselves, their projects, some of the highlights of it, the new knowledge that they've gained, some challenges they might have faced, or some personal accomplishments that they had, and that gets sent to the judges the week before the presentation. So they have those letters and they have field work before they come in. And that's one of the big writing pieces that they do. And then we have presentation day, of course. So this is really a celebration. If you're in the school that day, you can feel the energy because they're very excited. It's almost like, that state championship day is really exciting. Now this is for our academics and they're really just thrilled and it really brings them all together. So we do practice presentations, of course, so it's not the first time up there when they go. They are required to do one and pass that one. They can do 100 of them, but they can do as many as they'd like to get ready for it, okay? This year, the one thing that we did change that really seemed to work well is we dedicated one afternoon, one Monday afternoon where all staff members stayed and the entire senior class stayed and they all presented their practice run on the same day. And that was kind of neat for them. The feel, and wasn't even think about that when we planned it, but the feel in the school, they were like, hey, how'd you do? And it used to be that they were all at different days. And this way it really organized it and helped them with that. So they had that practice before they go. The other thing that's a little bit different is the demonstration piece. We really wanted them to not just regurgitate what they had done step by step. First I did this, then I did that, but to really teach the audience something new. So I always tell them, pretend something's coming in that might be interested in your topic because they like it and they want to know how to do it. And so teach them something, how to do it, okay? So hopefully if you came, you saw some of that, some of the demonstration piece, and we're still working on making that as well. This is an assessment. It's not pass-fail anymore. So all of the parts that I just went over with you are assessed. We have very detailed rubrics for them that are all in their handbooks. They're all on the Senior Project website. The kids can see them. The best thing about it is there's no question. So if they do their learning log and they don't put any pictures in, it says right in the rubric, include photos. So they know if they want to check that before they turn it in, that it's an easy way to get a grade, right? Because it's all there. The expectations are up front, it's no secret. Okay, so we have those for all parts of the project. And then I just wanted to share that there really is a lot of communication. People don't see some of these things, but that are happening between families and students and us. Senior Project is really one of those times where we really encourage the students to take responsibility. So if a parent has a question or something, we really encourage the parents to say to the students, why don't you call? Why don't you go and have a meeting with them and find out that the student is doing that? But we certainly don't leave out the families because we know how important that is. So we start with full class meetings for every part of the project. So we'll start with a full class meeting next week for all of the juniors to talk about the proposal and getting ready for that. We'll also have a parent presentation the following week to talk to all the junior parents to let them know about the whole project. But then as we go, before the first learning log is due, we will have a meeting with them, and we'll give samples and show them examples of how to do it, what the expectations are. We'll do the same thing for the checkpoint meetings, for the cover letter, for the gallery, for the presentations. We have all of those meetings with them to help them understand better. There are many student emails along the way to remind them of deadlines and so forth. They also get detailed progress reports, families do. So each time up, this is in addition to the report cards and the progress reports that go home anyway. So when they have a checkpoint meeting with us, we review their learning log, we review the checkpoint meeting, it gets scored from the rubric, and we have a paragraph or two of comments. And so that gets printed and mailed that very day. So parents will get 4 of those reports every year. The website, as I said, we have office hours, we call it. So it's one period a day that we are available for senior project, and students often can drop in or they make appointments with us. That's the times that we're working on judges, working on brochures, working on meeting with other students and proposals and so forth, but they know where that time is and where the place is, so they can come and see us. Okay. Here's some pictures of this year's. See some of the things that happened. If anybody has any questions, I know it's quick. Do an overview. Yes.
How many seniors were involved this year?
This year there were 44.
44.
That was a lot bigger than the year before. It was 28 the year before. I think next year is smaller again. 29. Yes.
So you mentioned that it was graded. So what proportion of the total academic year grade does the senior project make up?
So it's one. I'm not sure if I understand the question. It's one final grade, but each quarter has certain pieces to it. Like the first quarter will be the proposal and so forth. It's averaged together as a final. Does that make sense?
They'll get a grade in English, and history,
Same.
and math.
Yep.
So it's considered like.
What is it? Half a credit?
Yeah, it's done by percentage. So for instance, you get 100 in an English class that runs all year long, and you have a 90 in an economics class that runs half the year. That 9 is going to be half of what that 100 would be all year. So in this case, it's a quarter credit.
Sure.
So 1 quarter of what the English would be, which runs the full.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.
Sharon, thank you so much. How many hours do you put in?
A lot.
Does the board have any questions for Sharon?
It's my first time going this year, second year in town. The presentations were wonderful. I just kept laughing at the kids. It kind of pull you in like you're at a trade show. They wanted to talk about it, and they were definitely prepped and prepared. It was a lot of fun to walk through and see all the projects. It was great.
Play it, John.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Next on our agenda, school updates. Jackie, we're going to start with you first, please.
All right, so we don't have a lot, but baseball and softball are off to a great start. Both teams are playing really well, and they both won their games tonight, so that was good against Pittsfield. And track is off to a good start too. I know a lot of those athletes are doing well in their events, and they're really excited about getting out there and doing well this year. And we also had Alcohol Awareness Week a couple weeks ago, and I thought that went really well. There was a lot of student involvement. We had a couple students every day who were t-shirts saying, "Ask me my story." And you'd ask them a story, and they would give you a made-up story about what happened to them, and it was an accident involving alcohol. And so I thought that was really productive and went well for the week. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jackie. Does the board have anything you want to ask Jackie?
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Mrs. Bergen, elementary school.
So a couple weeks ago, right before vacation, we had a science week. We had the Boston Museum of Science come in and give presentations at each grade level, which was very successful. And then those were sponsored by the PTO. And then on the Thursday night, our PTO had a science night, and we had about 30 families come and do some experiments with Mentos and Coke and elephant toothpaste. And so that was a really good time. So we're already talking about how we can expand that and grow that next year. So that was pretty exciting. Our spring drama production, Princess Who, will be performed next Thursday evening, May 11th at 6 p.m. in the Media Center. And on Thursday, May 19th, we have our student showcase, which is this year going to be a combination of a lot of events that happened on different nights. We're trying to streamline it so that parents don't have to come out as many times. So it's going to be from 5 to 7:30, and from 5 to 5:30, classrooms will be open to show off classroom projects. Then we will have the art show happening at the same time. Those pieces will be on display in the hallways. We will have Christ speaking that evening, and also our band and chorus concert. So it'll be a busy night. It's a great night for the community to come out and see all of the different kinds of things that we do at the elementary school. And then we will have an open house that Mr. Holden may speak a little bit more about on Saturday, May 20th, from 9 to 12 for the community to come in and have a look at our building.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for Mrs. Bergen?
The Very Active Night, what was the date on that one again? I'm sorry.
That's Thursday the 18th. Sorry, I said the 19th,
Okay.
but it's the 18th from 5 to 7:30.
Perfect, thank you.
And then for the Princess Who, is there room for community members to come, or is that really a small room and a lot of things?
It's a small room. I mean, the cast is not huge, so even with families, but it will be standing room if the community would like to attend.
Well, thank you so much. Moving on to Southampton Middle High School, Mr. Moynihan.
Okay. One of the things we had, which Mrs. Parsons spoke about, we certainly had the Secret Project night, which was a very successful night again, and also Jackie spoke about alcohol awareness. Before April vacation, we had hoped to do a service day for the community. For those of you who are around, which is most of you, you know April and May haven't been the best weather, so we had to cancel due to the rain that day. But it was a well put together effort by Mrs. Cartier and a lot of the service club members trying to get that together. We do have a math teacher who's gone on leave. I don't know that it would be good news necessarily, but I just want to let you know that we have a long-term sub that we've hired, and we'll start Monday, and I'll get that information out in an email to the parents either tonight or tomorrow morning. And U.S. News and World Report just came out with their top high schools. This year we were bronze medal school. We just got those results last week, and last year we were silver medal, but I'm still pretty pleased to be on the list.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Moynihan?
Do you have any sort of insight as to why bronze this time, silver last time? Was that the misunderstanding? Was that the last year's?
No, that was a couple years ago on that. They really come down to a couple things. Usually when you're going between the bronze and the silver, it really, to the best of my knowledge and looking into it, comes down to the percentage of kids taking AP exams and the scores they score on. And so, while we want to do well, obviously we also want to temper that with, would rather have 16 kids taking the test sometimes and maybe 12 do well and 4 don't, but they're pushing themselves on that. So it seems that the AP test is usually what separates the bronze from the silver. And usually what will get you in that bronze testing are your graduation rate and your performance on your statewide testing. And that's a pretty good answer, but not a completely perfect answer on it anyway.
Any further questions? Thank you very much. Moving on to the superintendent update.
A couple of different things I want to review with you tonight. Maybe with some paperwork. As I pass it out, I'll just start with an update on strategic plan. Been working with the administrative team. We've met a couple times now. We've done a lot of individual work on a document. It's coming along. It's taking a little more time. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on our part as far as really taking that goal and breaking that down into action steps, and then from those action steps, who's going to be responsible for those, how we're going to measure those, what's the timeline on those. So we've had some, I think, great discussion administratively. Again, we are creating that Google Doc and all having input on that. Our hope is to bring that to you in June. I'm still going to feel confident that we can do that. I hope it'll be as a final document. We'll wait and see, but it is, I think people will be very pleased with the results. I think we've taken a real good look. We've gotten a lot of great input from the focus groups in our community, and based upon that, have been able to really look at where we're going as a district and how we're going to get there. So hopefully you'll be seeing that coming forward in June. Just echo quickly regarding Jackie and the Red Ribbon Week awareness, alcohol awareness week. Really special thanks to Chief Cahill and the Sunapee Police Department for working collaboratively with us. The Community Conversations group that has other town employees and folks from Mount Royal that's out of that group to really push this thing forward and get it off the ground in sort of a first step. I think it's going to be a great building block for our kids moving into next year, and not only looking at alcohol awareness, but just awareness as I spoke to in overall. I think that there's a lot of things that are connected, whether it's mental illness, drug and alcohol addiction, we talked about sleep deprivation last time. All those things are related, and we really have to look at awareness of our youth and what that looks like within our community. So I just wanted to echo that. May 22nd, speaking of emotional awareness, the library is hosting an emotional awareness night. Chief Justice Broderick, or I should say ex-Chief Justice Broderick from the New Hampshire Supreme Court is coming. He does a great presentation. He has a son that went through mental illness. He actually was assaulted by his son in the middle of the night. Sustained a serious head injury. His son went to jail. Is out of jail now, finished college, as if he's married an adult, but has a real interesting story regarding mental illness. And so that'll be open to the public. Again, it's on May 22nd at the library at 6 p.m. If you have an opportunity to get to that event, I highly recommend it. I've heard him speak several times now, and his message is a great one. He actually has a card. You might have seen it on the billboard going through Manchester. Was there a couple months back, and so 5 signs of mental illness. And we actually were able to provide every student in New Hampshire with a copy of that, and all went home. And I have more of those, and I have some available that I've given to the library as well. So I just think it's a great message, and I think it's something that, again, we're looking at all these things and how they connected. This is a piece that connects as well. So I'm going to go back now and talk about the handouts. The first one is Edgenuity. Edgenuity is an educational software that the district is investing in. And as you can see in the packet, this is going to be in our middle through high school. And there's a lot of different opportunities for this software. One, it aligns with core curriculum. There's be an opportunity for credit recovery. There's intervention, so if kids are falling behind, there's a process in which we can intervene. There's test readiness. There's virtual learning. There's blended learning, so a teacher's doing it here in school, and it can carry over to what's going on at home. There's summer school. There's special education pieces. And another piece that we thought that would be vital for would be kids that need you tutoring on either a sort of a short-term basis. I've looked at several